Hey there, thanks for tuning in. I'm Jeremy Dobrish, and this is the ProCast, brought to you by Proscenium Events in New York City. It's a podcast about corporate events. Now, each month we take a bite-sized look at how to make these corporate events, conferences, programs, shows even more effective and impactful. Today, we're doing something a little different. This is our first ever video ProCast. Also, this episode is all about celebrating Proscenium's 15th anniversary. So maybe it's not as filled as usual with actionable takeaways, but if you've ever wondered how and why Proscenium got started, what some of the challenges were, and just what makes Proscenium so special, then stand by for Q1 of the ProCast. And Q1, let's go. All right, so I am here with two of the founding partners of Proscenium, Chuck Santoro and Mark Sheeran, and we are here to talk about and celebrate the 15-year anniversary of Proscenium. So, hi guys. I'd say welcome, but we're here in the Proscenium offices.
Well, thanks. It's nice. Yeah, hi.
Absolutely. Hello.
So let's go back to the very, very beginning.
It's a very good place to start.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, so at the time, you guys had very successful careers in producing live events. You were at one of the top agencies to do this. You had great titles, great offices, and yet you decided to go out on your own and start your own agency. What the hell is wrong with you? Why? What did you think you could do better, different? What were your goals in doing that?
I think that was it. We felt like there were some things that were not right at the other agency. And we felt that we could actually do it better for the clients, do it better for the people that work there, and generally just do a better job. And I guess, I'll talk for me, I felt like, we tried to make some changes there and it hadn't really worked. And then we were sort of like, okay, we should stop sort of talking about it. And if we think we can do it better, we should do it. And yeah, that's really the start of it,
And what kinds of things? Give me a specific example.
There's such bureaucracy, I think, at where we were. And even before that, Mark and I were both at other agencies, huge agencies, big agencies that I think we learned a lot at. But there's always that we didn't have the final say. And not that it's just about that, but it was like sometimes we felt like some of the decisions, let's say call it upper management, we're making weren't servicing our team or our clients. And I think there was a few times when Mark and I worked on projects together, it was like, well, if we could do things differently, we would, but our hands were tied. And I think when an opportunity arose and this idea occurred, we're like, well, we could do all the things that we always said we wanted to do, maybe we could actually do.
So, and I'll add on to that, because Proscenium's the only live event agency I've ever worked at, so I don't have a comparison. But I would say from two different perspectives. In terms of the clients, you guys have a level of care for your clients that I find it hard to believe exists elsewhere. The level of detail, the lengths to which you will go, it's the furthest thing from a cookie cutter or phoning it in that it possibly could be. And I would imagine that is, if not unique to Proscenium, certainly special and different. And then, as a staff member, I would say the care that you have for the people is extraordinary. You take care of us unbelievably well. And I know it can be hard to, say these things about yourself. But I can't let it go unsaid. The way you run the company and the care that you give can't be like it is at some of these bigger agencies, I don't think.
Well, certainly not in my experience. And that, really going back to your original question, that is why we decided we wanted to do it ourselves. And what we sort of did was, I think, a little unusual in that we didn't start with what we wanted Proscenium to be so much. We started initially with what we didn't want it to be. So we didn't want it to be not for the benefit of our clients. We didn't want it to be in any way dishonest. We didn't want it to be highly bureaucratic for people to work there. We wanted people to have good health care. We wanted people to feel like they were part of something special. So it started with what we'd seen in the past and didn't really like, and then make sure that was taken care of at the new agency.
Makes sense. Now, doing something like that is very difficult. So what were some of the obstacles or challenges that you faced along the way?
Well, I think at first, I mean, I give Mark the credit. It was his idea first, and he, said he had this crazy idea. And no surprise, I was busy with T-Mobile, and I was like, "Hey, Mark, sounds great. Why don't you sound? I got this T-Mobile thing," and really he kind of took the ball and ran with it. So there was, before we even got to when it actually happened, there was a lot of stumbling blocks that people don't even realize, like in the 2 years kind of leading up to when it kind of finally happened. So I think, there were obstacles. It was like, who's the right partner to be with us funding wise? And to be totally honest, our first partner didn't work out. Now, all these years later, thank God, everything happens for a reason, that it didn't work out. But we were lucky enough that it got us our start at that time. So right away, it did not hit like, oh my God, everything's great. 6 months in, we didn't know if this was going to last.
Yeah, and by partner, he means investors. So the biggest obstacle was money. It was as simple as that. We're leaving, as you said, well-paid jobs. I had small children at the time.
We had really nice offices. Mark had a beautiful corner office overlooking
the
Times
ball
Square, the balls drop, and I was next to him. So we were, and it was okay. It wasn't awful. We were, making good money and really liked our teams, but we knew that it wasn't, not that everything's perfect in life, but there was things that we thought we could do better.
Yeah, but we needed to raise funds to start the business. We didn't have that money, ourselves. Banks, of course, when you have an idea like that, won't lend you money because you don't have anything to lend against. Now, of course, we get offers, every day about banks wanting to lend us money. But so we needed to get some investors. I sort of, as Chuck said, took that on. Probably took over 2.5 to 3 years for it actually to come to fruition. And went out to 3 or 4 different partners. Some of them we still know actually. Yeah, and so after that, once we got that funding, we could start the business, and we did that on June 8th, 2011.
And then what about along the way? What has been challenging or tricky?
Well, pretty quickly, not to spend too long on the past, but we had investors, and then we opened in June 2011. On December 21st of 2011, they said that they'd run out of money and they were no longer able to fund us. So that was
Merry Christmas.
Merry
Yay,
Christmas, everyone.
So fun.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that was interesting. So we
took huge pay cuts. We emptied our piggy banks, put everything we could into it,
business.
And just kind of crossed our fingers and hoped for the new year to bring opportunities.
And then we were fortunate. We won a large, we didn't know at the time, but we won a client, an external client, Qualcomm. And that saw us through, the sort of first year. And then we started adding, other clients to that. T-Mobile came along.
Well, then there was a huge RFP for T-Mobile.
Yeah, TD Ameritrade and others, started to come in.
Yeah.
But yeah, Qualcomm really,
was the first new
saved
client.
us. And they did that twice, actually. Mm-hmm. They saved us then, and they actually saved us during the pandemic.
Yeah.
Because they were one of our biggest clients during the pandemic.
Yeah.
So, thank you, Qualcomm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, one of the things I think you both do incredibly well is, it's challenging from year to year. You don't know how many shows a given brand is going to do, what kind of budgets they might have, what new shows might come in. You're balancing this very difficult sense of what is our year going to look like against this staff that you've got. And I think pretty much every year the staff grows a little bit. Maybe not every single year, but over time we're growing and growing and growing, and you're having to kind of balance that. And I would imagine that is challenging. But from a staff perspective, not that you make it seem easy, but you do it very well. It seems like it goes on without a lot of hiccups, and I would think that's incredibly impressive, because that's not necessarily where you're coming from, and yet you're able to do that really, really well. So along this path, given whatever challenges, obstacles there may have been, what are some of the accomplishments you've had over the last 15 years that you're kind of most, that you want to talk about, that you think are interesting or exciting?
Well, there's twofold. I think you bring up the team. I think that's a huge accomplishment unto itself. We have, I think the fact that our team, you included, have been here for years and years and years. We've had, for a team our size, to have people who have been here over a decade when we're only 15 years old, is a testament to the work that they do here.
This is Behind the Scenes Bethany, breaking with a fact check. The average tenure of Proscenium staff is 7.46 years, which is roughly 270 million heartbeats, 2,700 mugs of coffee, and 20,000, let's circle back on that, emails.
And I think the collaboration they have with each other, I mean, I know I'm so proud when I see people who, they truly enjoy working together, like kind of across the board, and that they become like lifelong friends. And we're talking about that now. It's like everyone is so interwoven in each other's lives, and I think it makes the work more rewarding and just their relationships outside of work more rewarding. So I think I'm super proud of the team, the ones that are here now, and even folks, that have kind of moved on. A lot of times they move on to freelance. They don't move on to other agencies. I don't think that's ever happened. It's only like they want a different. So I'm, besides the shows, I am super proud of the team. I mean, Mark and I said from the beginning, we wanted people to do their best work, be their authentic selves. And I think that's a big accomplishment that we've had from first day 15 years ago to today.
Yeah, and I think having a place that people feel safe, feel like they're acknowledged, feel like there's still room for growth is super important. I'm also very, very proud of the companies, the brands that have trusted us, Harley Davidson, Heineken, TD Ameritrade when they were around, Qualcomm,
T-Mobile.
I mean, just
they're huge brands.
incredible
I mean, they're
brands,
like they're not brands. You're like, wait, who do you? And also, like sometimes when people say, well, what do you do? It's not these brands you haven't heard of or these associations, or like when we do it and you say, and I'm also really proud of the diverse audiences. From the dealers at Harley Davidson to the employees at T-Mobile. So I think our different audiences that we touch with these, like the world's biggest brands. Mark and I worked for Walmart for a long time, and like for me personally as a creative, to be in a room with the CEO of Walmart, the CEO of Harley Davidson, the CEO of T-Mobile, and they're trusting me and the team to help with their message. I mean, that's really, they're rock stars unto them in their own right.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Pretty wild, actually.
Yeah, it's like,
really
it's sometimes
is,
funny.
right?
It is wild.
When I say that to people, they're like, you've met with the CEO of these companies? I'm like,
Well,
yeah.
And when the CEO of like Walmart says, "Is it okay if I go to the restroom?"
Yeah.
Make it quick.
Yeah, it's okay. So yeah, I think that, and that's been really cool, because I always say, like, people are like, what do you do? And I said, I explain, and I'm like, and I came from a theater background where I was directing actors, and I said, now my actors are CEOs and executives with the company, and I said, I do these shows, but we open and close on the same day, and we're supposed to, and we're happy about it.
Right, totally.
Another thing that I think is a little unusual that I've noticed over the years is something that we call like employee talent.
Oh.
And maybe you just want to talk about that.
Yeah.
Because that is like something that like literally, when people say, what we do doesn't change people's lives or whatever, well, I think this does.
Employee talent really does, and we did it. We've now done it successfully. It's become a huge piece of the T-Mobile business, and we did it at Lowe's years ago, and they didn't want to do it at first, and then we said, well, let's try it.
And then they
It
did it
really
every time
does
afterwards, right?
make an impact. And it's just basically, it's a talent show, because these huge corporations have so many talented people, not only in what they do for the company in the stores or what have you, but what they do in their personal lives. So we've done this talent show.
Walmart employs like over 1 million people, right?
And we just did auditions for that for the national anthem, and it was like a highly coveted spot.
Sure.
And I think seeing what we make them rock stars, and they get to work with our Broadway choreographer and music directors, and like we treat them like they get their time to shine. And I have had years later employees who still work. They say they still feel valued at the company. They're still there after years and years and years, and they still say that was one of the best days of my life. So how good that for us, when we have those moments, or just when we have these moments of we've changed somebody's life. We did the 5G lights for T-Mobile last year, and the team was like, you know what? This wasn't one of our biggest events, but it was our most impactful of the year.
Well, it's like, explain what it is.
It was
a high
so
school.
it's a high school in Enola, Oklahoma, or we did it in, it's like these small schools that T-Mobile doesn't like basically does a contest and they do a total makeover. They make over their football field. They get Gronk fitness equipment. This whole thing. We did the kind of launch at the homecoming game, and we did a drone show. It was like this ultimate pep rally.
Football was delivered by
Football was
helicopter.
Football was delivered by helicopter. It's a pretty special moment. But again, for this town, our team couldn't even get a hotel because we were like over an hour outside. It changed our lives. I'm never going to forget that. And we, partnering with a great company like T-Mobile that did that for the community, it's something that our team is still talking about.
Right. But then also, and this isn't the reason it was done, so much, but it also is on brand for those brands, for those companies. Like, the Walmart people feel like they're part of something perhaps slightly different than what a lot of people think of Walmart is.
And some of these folks have never been on a plane before.
Yeah.
Like you take things for granted. It's like we had one of the winners. It was who was like a loader in a Lowe's store, and he's like, he'd never been on a plane. He'd never been to Las Vegas, and it was like,
Never stayed in a hotel.
Never stayed in a hotel.
Yeah.
And
It's
it was
amazing.
mind blowing. And when the guy sang, remember that guy?
Yeah.
When he sang, it was like, this guy's in a stock room in the middle of America.
He's incredible.
Incredible.
And he didn't look incredible. He didn't look like an incredible singer.
No, it's like
and
the
yet-
voice when you're on it turned. His voice was so incredible, but if you turned around, you're like, okay, didn't expect that out of that.
Amazing though.
And again, for us, and what about the other story when the store manager, assistant store manager with the table?
Oh my God, yeah.
Like I spent a weekend. Sometimes when we do video work, and I spent this weekend with this couple who talked about a store employee who went above and beyond for their son who had
Customers, right? Customers of Lowe's.
Customers of Lowe's. And this store, basically, this whole thing about a table, and he had autism, and he needed the table, and it wasn't in. And the assistant store manager came because the table didn't come in time for his school year. Brought his own table from his house, and the impact that this one individual had on a family, and he didn't do it to get promoted. I met that he did it because he was a good person, and he
the right
wanted to
thing to
help
do,
another
right.
person. And then I think that goes back to doing the right thing to do. And I think when we get those people, and I think getting back to us and Proscenium, we always said we want people do the right thing, and would have people that you trust. And I think that was a great example of just a regular someone who works for the company who went above and beyond. They just did the right thing to do.
I love these stories.
Yeah.
It's incredible. It really is amazing. So this is a lot of success and wonderful things that have happened. With 2020 hindsight, looking back, is there anything you would have done differently, either to enhance what, these kind of stories, or to do, another avenue, or just anything like that?
Well, it's funny because in the journey, we talked about, it's funny because I was just talking about like where we are now as opposed to then. And we're kind of right where we started and wanted to be. So for example, we did talk should we be with a logistics company? Should we merge with a logistics company? Should we really focus on content and build out our content team triple the size? Should we really focus on digital? Should we really focus on virtual during that? Like these conversations we've had in 15 years, and we've had them, but we never really, obviously during the pandemic, that was a different time when you kind of really had to do virtual. But even before then, we're like, should we be doing that? People were talking about it, our hybrid events. You know what? We are back to what we like. We are a live events agency focusing on eternal events for their most important audiences. That was our mantra 15 years ago, and the same thing is true today. It has not, we've kind of we could have taken a pivot at one point, but we didn't for various reasons. And we're exactly, we help brands perform right where we were 15 years ago.
Yeah, and I wouldn't change a thing, honestly. I wouldn't change a thing. Even the more difficult things, I think, they test you and they make you better, and Fortunately, we've come out of those things, and a lot of that goes back to the core. You know, if you surround yourselves with great people, you know, you can sort of manage almost anything really. And yeah, you know, we've had amazing growth. I mean, we started off with 5 people and a young intern, so 6 people.
In this,
Our glass top tables.
The tables came with the place.
Yeah.
So where we're sitting right now used to be a reception desk, and when they're showing us around, they're like, "Your secretary gets it there." We're like, "We don't have a secretary," and so that's what we had.
So
the
we started
idea
off
of the
with
stage, and
yeah, we started off with 6. You know, we're now approaching 30. You know, the growth hasn't been, you know, like this, of course, but nothing really grows like that. It's been a little bit more like this. But we have, you know, our revenues are, you know, obviously a lot more than 0, which
well, the first day when we first started, we didn't have any revenue, and it was like we all had different jobs, but they weren't like they were obviously trying to get work, but like
you were acoustic engineer.
I was the manager of noise abatement because
Yeah.
it was a little noisy in the rooms.
In our main conference room.
I was in charge of that. I was the
Reverberator.
director of noise abatement.
Yeah.
But remember, we got that first proposal for that gold thing,
yeah.
and we were all clamored because we had nothing else to do, and we didn't have any money for a scenic designer. So I like sketched that thing out. We were gonna like we had like it was just raw. It just I remember it like it was yesterday. Us crowded in there and putting things on the board, and we have them somewhere, and we really should find them. Like all the things we were trying to focus on. We have those white. It's a roll, probably it's in storage. We should see like all our goals and like what we wanted.
I mean, that was a different evening. I mean,
We came at night a lot.
Yeah, there was an evening where the end wall of the 3 rooms there, we literally filled with Post-it notes because we
Big
brought
ones,
in the
yeah.
team and we just went through everything, you know, from what, back then you used to have a telephone on your desk. So what telephone did we need? What headsets
Right.
did we need?
The telephone.
To what did we want it
We had
to be?
so many conversations
to,
about the telephones.
to what should our, you know, mantra be? To
The walls were painted the wrong color. We had to paint them the right
yeah,
color.
Barney.
It was
Barney.
Barney. It looked like
Barney
Barney
purple.
blood. Barney
Barney
blood. I was
purple.
like, that's not the right one.
We were brought in one lunchtime and like, this color?
Yeah, because Mark and I
No.
were still, you know, we would come in when we had free time, and because we resigned from our other agency on the same day, the same moment, early in the morning in his office. I will also never forget that moment. Said we were leaving, hung up the phone. We left very early, and we walked down the street to here. And we didn't tell anyone for a few days, and it was like a few days later when we all changed our LinkedIn at the same time. We're all standing up, and we're like, okay, are we all ready? And it was like what this company is and where we are, and we all pressed on the same time, but no one knew where we were. It was like 3 days, and people were texting, and I just didn't respond back.
Yeah, and that's when we launched the website as well.
That was the day.
So we left on June 6th, and then we started the company on June 8th.
Yeah, right.
It's like a movie. I want to see the movie of this.
It really was.
Yeah, it's
It
great.
was like we left, and that's why some of my clients call me Don Drapery, like leaving in the middle, Don Drapery. Yeah, we just started. I'll never
Yeah.
forget that day.
Yeah. And it's pretty big news, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, here we are.
Here we are.
Yeah.
So Chuck, you were talking about the sort of the laser focus of Proscenium, which I think is right and which I think is great. But Proscenium does also do a few, whatever you want to call it, ancillary type things that I would love you to just talk about a little bit in terms of the charities that we
sure.
support. And even we were co-producers of a Broadway play, right?
Co-producers of a Broadway
So talk
musical.
a little bit about that.
Sure. I think, you know, it goes back to the essence. I think a lot of folks here have a theater background in some way, and we're called Proscenium. And why are we Proscenium? What's a differentiator here in the heart of New York City, not far from Times Square? So, you know, the idea of producing a Broadway musical was never on our list. But there was this opportunity that came our way through friends who I knew of How to Dance in Ohio, which was a show which really kind of hit home for us about what it was about. A bunch of high school kids on the autism spectrum, but also the actors were played by folks somewhere on the autism spectrum. So it was a really special show, original musical, and it really kind of triggered things for us on how we should look at our events through a lens of diversity and how being inclusive to our audiences. So it was really a great experience. It's something, you know, for us we had never done, and you know, we learned a lot, but it wasn't something it's always been something in the back of my head as a theater person, but when the fact that we could then do it at Proscenium and I was like, are you going to do it again? I'm like, well, if the right opportunity comes along, it was.
Yeah.
I think it was a great opportunity not only for us but for the team.
We had other opportunities which we didn't take up, but this one, felt right. I mean, I have a son who's globally delayed and nonverbal, so that's also personal. So the fact that the two things came together, was really special. And accessibility, and they did some really great things about making the theatre more accessible for diverse audiences. And we've been fortunate that we've actually taken that to a number of our clients, and they've adopted those. SAP this last year had a tranquility room as part of their offer.
And you guys pitched that because of what we kind of learned on Ohio.
Yeah.
So I think that was a
really
nice
cool. And then you want to
offshoot.
talk about TheatreWorks as well?
Yeah, so TheatreWorks is one of a charity that's near and dear to my heart. Actually, your heart as well, Jeremy. I got my equity card there way back as an actor, and then kind of kept in touch. And I know you were a director there, and Henry Evans on our team had worked there, which is another reason why we got to meet him. So I'm on the board. I sit on the board. I was asked to be on the board a few years ago, and I think because it goes back to theater and giving kids who sometimes never have an opportunity to see live theater, and I got to see that firsthand when I toured around the country in the 90s, and how impactful theater is. So it goes back to, that's theater, but it's about a live event, right? And it goes back to, we don't produce theater necessarily, but we're producing live events, and the importance of a live event. And I think in this day and age, specific at every age, kids or adults, you're stuck on your screen. And to look up and to engage with something happening on stage, be it a corporate event, a theatrical event, and starting at a young age, I think these kids see it. So it's been something that we have supported with TheatreWorks in their mission to deliver theater to underserved communities all over the country. So we've been doing it since I joined the board.
Yeah, and normally around the holiday we make a donation on behalf of
our client, everybody. So like each card we send out is another goes to another free ticket for a child.
It's great.
Yeah. And we also donate, we also we donated some time for years ago at the Drama Desk Awards, like some of our creative team got to work on that, which was great. It was also just a different avenue and something different than what our team has gotten.
Yeah, we definitely supported individuals doing things, for other organizations.
Love it. Love it. So we're spending a lot of our time looking back over the last 15 years. Let's just talk a little bit about looking forward. Where is Proscenium going for the next 15 years? What do you see ahead?
I think continuing this journey, I think, doing more experiential events. I mean, Chuck can talk about, the F1 event that we did for T-Mobile at the Vegas Grand Prix back this last fall in a second. But I think also, we were very, very fortunate to be in 2024 the lead agency for SAP. So we were the lead agency, but we were working with other great agencies on a very, very large, user conference that included logistics, included keynotes, included, something like, over 100 breakouts, food and beverage, the whole thing, a trade show, an expo, travel, transportation, the whole thing. And we were the lead agency on that, but working with other agencies. And I think that was great, because I think, maybe some people didn't think we could do that sort of thing. But, we absolutely can, and we've continued to do that in various roles, for them. But I think that's something that I would like to see more of. And then, something that I wasn't actually personally involved with, but I think an amazing event was the F1 event for T-Mobile.
It was a highlight.
Recently.
Yeah, we just did that last year, and I think, working with T-Mobile, this is my 19th year working with T-Mobile, and I never think it's going to get better and bigger, and they've been amazing to us. and allow us to partner with them. And the F1 event was it was a big launch moment for them about switching, and their new CEO kind of taking the stage for the first time in a major way at a major press event. And for us, it was a very, you went in through a garage that felt like a F1 garage, but T-Mobilized with an F1 car, and there was a fog curtain, and Paris Hilton and influencers came, and she said she loved it. She said it was hot. And then you went into the main stage, and there was the kind of the presentation. Then we went to a Club Magenta, where we had Brandy Cyrus, Miley Cyrus's sister, was a DJ who was excellent. It was just but I also was just going back to what impressed me. It wasn't the actual event. It was how agile our team and the T-Mobile team were and got things done in 5 weeks. We didn't have a venue. We didn't have a space. We're at F1 at a crowded time. Everything was booked. And, the ask from us was, they didn't want it to feel like a ballroom. And I was so proud and happy when their new head of brand said, thank you. You delivered on what I asked. So but it was really about the teamwork. Everybody across the board. It was like, we're going to get this done, and we're going to deliver this to them. So, and that just was last year.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that, again, going back to things that we're proud of, we've done a lot of firsts. We were one of the first by a small number of weeks to have an LED floor in a corporate show, which was for Heineken. We were the first ever agency to take over the very large windows, which are the Boston Convention Center,
right,
and made that into a screen.
And they still have it. I was just there on a site visit this year. They said no one has done it again. Why has no one done it again?
Seems so obvious to us.
So many years ago, and they're like, no one has, and they bring it up.
I think continuing to do first, and all of those solutions came out of challenges. So.
The kabuki drop for Boeing. At the time, I think it was the largest kabuki drop. They said, I don't know. That was because it was an airplane hangar and it had to fall at the same time.
Right.
Sometimes we get those thrown at us. That's why the Harley one was like, we're in a convention center and there was windows, and you always make fun of me because it was windows and we put film on it. We projected onto it. And then at the very end of the show, I wanted this moment for the CEO to kind of ride out, and then I made it look like sky, and he's like, "You made the windows. We blocked the windows, and then you added sky on top of the windows." And it looked
like the windows on the projection.
Right.
I was like, "All right, it works."
You made windows on windows, so I remember that. But we do. Good. You're right. That when looking back, that we have been thrown some challenges, and we take a step back and delivering on not the impossible, because we've done it, but the challenge is some of the bigger accomplishments.
Yeah. No, completely.
And I love how you phrase that. That it's not that you guys are looking to do a first. It's just the show has a particular need, and you have a solution for it that's never been done before that is incredible. And the client's happy, the attendees are happy, and it's this amazing technically produced work of sort of creative magic. And that's really cool.
And we also have clients that literally will trust us. When we presented that solution to Heineken, that's a big step for somebody to spend, large budgets on and do something that's never been done before. Because people say they want to do things, but then like, oh, has it ever been done before? And then they pull away, But these people didn't, and that was the same with Heineken, Harley, T-Mobile. A number of our clients have taken that jump with us, and we've never let them down. And so I think, bring it on, like there's always solutions, and so that's where I want to go, do bigger, better things for everyone, for our team as well.
Sounds great. I'm in. Let's go. So I'd love to move on to our lightning round. So this is 3 questions we ask all our guests. You can answer relatively quickly if you like. The first one is, who is your biggest get? And what I mean by that is you have seen hundreds of guest speakers, entertainers, motivational speakers, sports figures, but who is someone you would just love to see at a live event? Mark, it looks like you've got one.
I have one.
Go.
Taylor Swift.
Really?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have said that.
Yeah.
She was at our first, remember that Walmart show she did with us? years ago. She sat on the. I said offered her a chair, and she's like, "No, I'll just sit on the steps." Literally, for one of her first shows.
She was with her mom.
She was with her mom.
She was 17.
Right, I remember she was wearing that one-piece dress. I think
With cowboy boots.
cowboy
and she had
boots,
little legs that
sat on the
cowboy
thing.
boots.
And I was like, "Do you want a chair?" She goes, "I'll just sit on there."
And then we said to her, she had her guitar on her back,
Yeah.
and we said, "Look, we have guitar techs. You know, can we look after your guitar?" She said, "No, I'll take it to my hotel room," and she went back to her hotel room. But let me tell you why Taylor Swift. One is because I met her then. We met her then.
I remember.
We did think she was incredibly talented. I don't think anybody knew that she was going to be, the most powerful person in the world. So for me, it's somewhat fitting that was sort of early. But what I'd like to talk to her about, obviously, I think she would do some sort of performance, but I'd love to hear her story, right? Her story from coming to that as a country artist, trying to, she'd moved to Nashville at that point. Her mother and father, I think, had either sold or had done something with the Christmas tree farm and something. And they all moved. They all bet on her success. So they moved to Nashville. That was one of her first big gigs, probably her biggest gig at the time, in front of 7,000-8,000 people. And look at her now, And I think hearing her talk about that in an authentic way would be just incredible.
Yeah.
And I think, what an amazing businesswoman, what an amazing, and if that's her or the people she's chosen to do that for still, kudos. And I'd love to hear that, and I'm a big Swiftie. I love Taylor, and yeah.
Let's get her.
Yeah.
Okay.
Chuck, how about you?
And I was thinking to myself, I don't know the last time you asked me this question if it's the same person, and it might be. It's still George Lucas. It's like, who do I want to go to dinner with? I've never been in a room. I've been in a room with him very far. He was having lunch and I was having, and I was like, oh, I want it. But just the impact that he had on movie making, and him or Spielberg. And I'm not a huge movie guy, but I think their creativity in creating characters, even though I wouldn't say I'm a film buff, I'm a theater guy, but yet I'm picking two movie people because of these movies that they've made that are such a part of my life and my childhood, which I think impacts your adulthood. And creativity, I think they're just huge creative minds. Actually, the two of them together, gosh. And I know they're friends, like imagine, but like sometimes you're like, I'm always about these dinner parties, like who's at these dinner parties? Like imagine the two of them. Yeah. I would love to be I don't even have to, the two, go to dinner. I think, wouldn't you want to go to dinner with them?
Yeah,
and
sure.
Taylor Swift. I think the three.
Let's bring Taylor as well.
Let's bring Taylor. Yeah. Anyway, I like that. So I've always wanted them at one of my events, and I've never been at.
That would be amazing. Yeah. Okay, second question. You've seen tons of presenters, particularly executives, on stage giving presentations. What is something you wish presenters did more of, or it could be less of, but a tip for presenters?
I would say tell stories. I think way back when I might have said rehearse, which is still a thing. But the people remember stories, no matter who you are. And I think an anecdote to personalize what they say is memorable. And I could go through the ones in my 15 years that are the most memorable, and they're when they maybe were even a little vulnerable and told a personal story. And it doesn't have to be that personal even, but it becomes very memorable. And I think you're relating to the audience and connecting with the audience in a very quick way when they're up there, the audience is down here. Just tell stories.
Yeah, I agree with storytelling, but I do think rehearse. Some people will, some people won't. I've never seen anybody get worse because they rehearse. That rhymes, doesn't it? Worse because they rehearse. But yeah, I've never seen that. Right? I've never seen somebody like, oh, we shouldn't rehearse you, because it was, terrible. It's always the other way around, right? And so, yeah, and I try and tell people, anything that you think is improvised, unless it is truly improv, anything you think that's improvised on the TV or wherever you're at has been rehearsed and rehearsed and rehearsed and rehearsed.
And I've seen executives who have rehearsed, and I've seen them still at their companies, and I, seen them advance over time. And they take events seriously because they know how important the audience is. And they're still at these companies, and it's great to then work with them year over year, and they see the importance of what we do, and they want to talk to us and how are we going to tell the story on stage that will resonate with the audience?
And there are some outliers, of course, who, but they're very, very rare. They're like 1 in, 50. Somebody who can just get up on stage.
And there's a few. We've been very fortunate. I'm thrilled when...
Very few.
Yeah.
Yep, that's good advice.
Yep.
All right, last question. What is something, it could be a movie, a book, a song, whatever you like, that has been a big influence on you, and particularly your career, but doesn't have to be, but something that you read or that you saw or that you heard that made a big impact?
I can go. Yeah, I mean, for me, I grew up, I was born in 1962, so by the time I could sort of, think for myself, it's the 70s. So David Bowie was a huge influence for me, and seeing his creativity and his ability to change and be flexible, but still be, of importance and successful. I think David Bowie would be, that. And David Bowie and Taylor Swift at dinner would be great.
Well, that would be even harder to
tougher
pull off.
one.
That would be a
but
miracle.
yeah.
Tougher
Would that be
one.
a miracle?
It would be a miracle.
Yeah.
But you never know.
Yeah.
You never know.
Chuck, how
I
about
would
you?
say, I will not say Star Wars. I will say the musical Sunday in the Park with George. I have been a Sondheim fan. I went to school for musical theater, and that show specifically, the first act, is just like the fact that what it's about, and taking a painting and creating this life of these characters that aren't real characters from a painting, and the musical score and what is said in that piece it's still like gives me chills. I could see it. I've seen every version that I could in my lifetime, and I will plan on going to London next year to see the new one with Ariana Grande and Jonathan Bailey. I love it. I think it's an inspiring piece. It's a Pulitzer Prize winning piece of theater, and it always has moved me.
Thank you for taking the time to talk about this stuff. I know that Proscenium is doing a lot publicly to celebrate the 15-year anniversary, but I really hope you guys are taking some time just to reflect on what an incredible accomplishment this has been, and just soak in some of the pride that is so well-deserved, because it really is amazing what you two have accomplished. So thank you for that, and thank you for talking about it.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Yeah, thank you. It's been incredible, Jeremy.
Yeah.
Well, that was so much fun taking a stroll down memory lane with Mark and Chuck. Look, I could talk about this stuff all day. And if you want to talk to us about Proscenium or anything about live events, check out our show notes for more info. There's lots of fun stuff in there. Or just go to proscenium.com and drop us a line. We'd love to hear from you. Because at Proscenium, we help presenters do their best in front of their most important audiences. As we like to say, we help brands perform. And I have a sneaking suspicion we can help your brand perform. If you like the ProCast, you can listen to it at proscenium.com or get it anywhere you get your other podcasts. And if you want to check out our newsletter, you can get that at proscenium.com too. Now, today's show was hosted by me, Jeremy Dobrish. It was produced by Bethany Potter with original music by Maestro Mike Mancini. And hey, you know how at the end of podcasts they ask you to go to Apple Podcasts and leave a good rating? Well, of course we'd love you to do that so more people hear about the show and so we can hear your thoughts. But look, if you learned a few tips and you want to keep this one just between us, that's cool too. So, until next time, stand by to fade the ProCast out. And ProCast out, let's go.